Hello everyone and welcome back to the Brightworks and another match of Beyond All Reason, where today we will be taking a look at a match that was played on Pawn Retreat. Pawn Retreat is a very interesting map. Sometimes we see this in a 1v1 and oftentimes we see it in an 8v8. One of those few maps I can think of that can really go both ways very effectively, right? Without really too much of a problem one way or a problem that way. But anyways, you like to slice it here. Today, spawning as the blue commander in the backline right now as an Armada commander, it's going to be Duffy. None other than Duffy right here, spawning, yeah, well into the backline. Now, there's a lot of options that we'll get into here in the backline, but it is an interesting spawn point. Putting your strongest commander back here means that the blue team is looking for a little bit of a slower start. And I did take a look at the length of this replay, and no, that isn't exactly what's going to be going on, so curious to see exactly what kind of moves Duffy's going to be going for here. Similar spot, but not exactly the same here. On the other side of the map, also as an Armada commander, none other than Pillow here. Pillow hailing with 35 open skill, just one before the blue team leader at 36. Gonna be showing us some of that good old-fashioned Armada T1 bot play. Gonna be going into some solar panels and some wind turbines. Ooh, that wind speed is plummeted, and just like that, forced to go into one of those solar panels. Otherwise, this lab is gonna be desperately e-stalled here. Always a bummer when that happens, but better to pivot early than pivot later. Once you're already e-stalled, it's very difficult to climb out of that pit without going into mass solar panel. And that's obviously something that no commander should ever have to do, not around here anyways. Pillow, gonna be getting up a T1 bot lab. Looks like we're going for res bots and con bots here. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, a lot of forests, a lot of trees, a lot of different areas right here where you can take advantage of those res bots to eat up and stimulate that early game energy economy. Definitely a valuable way of getting especially those advanced solar panels up and running. Oftentimes it's one of the big tech hurdles that you can get over is building maybe 4 or 5 of those advanced solar panels. Once you have those up and running, your economy is basically stabilized to go into T2. Until that point, though, it can be a little bit flimsy. Now, the reason I say that it's a bit of a strange position to see the commander in the backline here, the blue commander in the backline here, is because typically in this spot you have one of two options. You can either choose to go for air. In this case, it looks like it's going to be Omegadon. Oh, that's a great name. Omega, it's like a Megalodon, but it's Omegadon. The teal commander here, the cyan commander, going to be going ahead and going for some of those Cortex airplanes. And yeah, wind speed plummeted right now, so this commander definitely having a rough time as far as the energy gain goes. Wouldn't even be too unbearable to consider a solar panel switch here. Obviously, not very beneficial as a bot or a vehicle commander, but as an air commander, usually you have a little bit of spare metal left over that you can go ahead and dump into a couple of extra solar panels here. Yeah, usually the case. Not always, but usually. Scouting plane comes across the map right here from the hot pink player. Nicely done from J2Man, or JT2Man. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it, but this pesky little scout plane does manage to fly directly into the backline here. If we switch to player view, you can see exactly what this commander is seeing right there, revealing 1, 2, 3, and 4 of these bases. 5 if you count the air player there, and another one will shortly be noticed. Fighter plane on the way to intercept. Ooh, it wants to desperately, but already all the bases have been revealed. All the scouting information that is needed here will be acquired. Very nicely done. Very perfect scout right there from the hot pink commander. The other option you have as the big commander in the backline right here is to go into some tech, right? So that's maybe something that we see very commonly in a lot of other maps, right? Where a backline commander will just go ahead and go up for tech 2. On this map, however, it's much more risky because this commander in the spot where Darth is fighting in desperately has to vie for control over multiple different front lines. So you've basically got this front line over here. You've also got this front line over here, and you've got this high ground. Now, sometimes you can put a gauntlet up here and there'll be enough to thwart forces over on this northern side and sometimes over on this side as well. But it's very tricky to get that up and running without actually leaking units into your backline and causing a whole bunch of problems here. So Darth is going to be on the defensive if we go for T2, but it doesn't look like that's the case. It looks like indeed Duffy is going to be going into some good old-fashioned T1 bot support. Very, very nice to see. Tech in the backline. Whoa. Centurion, pretty good for cleaning up those ticks. Does manage to blast it down quite nicely. Meanwhile, pawns are marching forward over here on the right-hand side. Nice little surround of forces right there from the Seafoam Green and the Powder Blue commanders, both working in unison, sending their infantry forward to try and capture, or kill rather, a couple of those yellow grunts. This is Will Ramos trying to be aggressive as possible right now, knowing, of course, that this is really going to come down to holding steady on this high ground right here. Locking down this area over to the right towards Pillow, locking down this little choke point over here on the left towards the main yellow production. If we can get all that set up, then this is going to be a fabulous experience right here for the yellow commander. Speaking of fabulous experiences, though, there's about 10 grunts pushing forward and catching quite a few rocketeers. Very, very efficient. Hundreds of metal going down for the red commander, only a couple for the purple. Probably about 100 or so metal going down, probably 200, 200 to 300 metal. A little run by attempted right there by some of these pawns, but they will run directly into the walls, blockading the entrance right there. Nicely done by Ramos, keeping that entrance nice and stuffed up, making sure that no units can push through over there. Gets a D-gun on some of those pawns as well, softening up this army and lasers down a couple more, meaning that this is going to be a perfectly held defense. Ramos pulls the trigger on this LLT right here. We do have another one defending this commander. Oh, Kidro. Nice D-gun right there. Hey, killer D-guns right there, carving apart that swath of grunts. Very, very nicely done. A little bit of res reclaim shenanigans going on in the backline over here. Meanwhile, the Maroon commander continuing to push forward. We do have a heavy laser tower up and running for Rimmer. Not the worst idea here, especially if you know you're going to be going up against bots right here. We've seen the Maroon bots, so all is well and good here. As long as these bots are going to be going up against the T1 static defense, all will be well. As soon as those vehicles come across the map, that's when you start to sweat a little bit. Scout plane here for the Blue Forces does manage to find its way across the map. Hey, nicely done by Omegadon. Manages to get one of those Finch into the backline and scouts out where every single one of these bases is as well. All right, both teams now on information. As far as information goes, they both got the same level of awareness, right? They both got the same perspective out on the map. Kidro very low after pushing into that LLT right there, 51% and falling. Rocketeer is eager to blast down whatever they can over here. You can see them firing away at that LLT, or trying to at the very least. Unfortunately for the Powder Blue commander, walls are a thing. Yeah, just a couple of T1 walls doing a fabulous job here. Centurion Rocketeer on the front line, I don't mind it whatsoever. Parsifal 77 getting some of those expensive T1 bots out to the front, but obviously those Centurion are fabulous for dealing with spams of units. Whoa, okay, a little bit of a weird standoff happening here. Darth and Atian just staring at each other. For whatever reason, they're... Yeah, there we go. I was wondering why the D-gun wasn't coming up there. Constructor will fall right now. Rocketeers for the support, and I wouldn't mind seeing a lot of these units handed over to the Green Commander. No reason for the Blue Commander to handle all the micro on that front line. Just let one commander handle the micro, and then the other commander can just go ahead and go for the eco in the back, or just a bunch of unit production. One way or another is usually the best idea. That way, you also have efficient spreads in all these units, right? You never really know where your teammates are going to position their units. Making sure that they all position them quite nicely. It's a little bit of a trust exercise, right? It's kind of like a trust fall. Handing over the units, hoping that your ally uses them efficiently, but never really guaranteed that they will. A couple of Blitz tanks pushing forward right here. It's only 2 Blitz tanks that actually make it to the lab, but we've seen just how much damage Blitzes, Pawns, Grunts, all those early T1 assault units can do, and there we go. Metal Extractor falls. Each of these Blitzes costing 109 metal. Means that we need 2 mechs per blitz in order to justify the cause, but sure, a couple of wind turbines cost just about as much here. 45 metal per Cortex wind turbine means that with all these wind turbines going down, these blitzes have easily paid for themselves and some more. Pop, pop, and pop. There go the wind turbines. Another metal extractor goes down right here. Not only damage done in the amount of actual value of the metal extractor that has been popped here, but also, of course, in the lost mining time, meaning that metal is going to be leaking out of the green system here very, very rapidly. That also means these frontline defenses are going to be very low on energy. Yeah, only 78 energy in the bank right now. It means that Rimmer is actually in a really tricky spot. Trying to build some of these T1 static defenses here, but having a very rough time. Lowing run on metal. There you go. There's a sentence for you. Running low on metal here is the Green Commander. Trying to res some of this is quite nice, but I wouldn't mind seeing a reclaim here as well in some of the scraps, just to try and stimulate that metal economy so we can get everything up and running nicely. Darth stepping forward. We also have the Rocketeers ready to rampage. Just a good old-fashioned Rocketeer ball. The blue team putting everything out on the field, the red team making significant tech investments. So the orange commander going for more of that tech play that we discussed earlier here. You can see going for a bunch of these very, very cheeky butlers that can build E-converters and wind turbines. Makes them a really potent economy tool for Armada. You can go ahead and just set those to build a bunch of wind turbines and a bunch of T1 E-converters, and you can have a magnificent economy in the late game very, very quickly. Sprinters out on the field at this point. The yellow commander doing the very best to hold this line as possible here. But with the blue team making massive steps forward right now. Ooh, massive commander explosion over here. Just barely missed it, but the smoke is still clearing from that ginormous explosion. Banshee's in the air to try and shut some of this down as well. There is an anti-air turret up from Darth. Nicely done. Good teamwork right there. The green commander keeping the, keeping these rocket boys in blue nice and safe here. Trying to make sure that while these Rocketeers step forward, they're going to be somewhat covered from that air fire. Still though. ifs and buts and coconuts, but those Banshees are still blasting away as much as they want. Nothing really to protect against those hot pink Banshees. There's another great band name, by the way. And here we are. We have arrived at the enemy's front door. What will we do with the opportunity? Sprinters have now come up, and we do have a T2 constructor building those T2 mexes back here. We've taken the brief respite in order to go for some of that T2 economy. Obviously very great. As these T2 mexes come up and online, you're going to be able to produce more units a lot quicker. But obviously producing those units also costs a lot of your metal. So do you risk it and go for multiple mexes? Do you just go for units first? What do you try and do? That's always the risk inherent to playing this game. Bunch of planes flying overhead again. Would love to see anti-air coming out from Penguin. The purple commander with the pronunciation from Benedict Cumberbatch's nature documentary. Penguin. Penguin. Penguin? Penguin. Penguin. Somebody out there is going to know what I'm talking about. It's the most hilarious thing I've ever seen. Just look it up on YouTube. Look up the look up the Benedict Cumberbatch Penguin. It's pretty funny. T2 lab up and running right now for the blue commander, but with the luxury of all that space on the front line, has been able to go into a T2 situation very, very comfortably. Whereas the orange commander has had to make some difficult choices, right? Has had to choose between eating up wind turbines and all sorts of other stuff, right? Trying to make choices between all of these. Whereas the blue commander essentially just got all that T2 mix up right off the rip. That's going to be a whopping 8 metal per metal extractor. 8, 16, 24 so far coming in from T2 metal extractors for the blue commander. And you can see overall the economic benefit right here for the blue team well in their favor. Well, okay, actually the red team reclaiming quite a bit right now and actually making up the difference. A little bit of a fight going on the northern side here as well. A bunch of medium tanks engaging with some of those thugs. Not the end of the world. The purple commander in a little bit of trouble though. Yeah, thugs are more than sturdy enough to brawl out here on the front line though. Despite not having any res bots to repair all these, I think this is still fine. I think as long as the purple commander gets those T2 mexes up and running and is staying on the red player's soil, this is going to be more than perfect. Pillow here reclaiming a bunch of this metal right here. Nicely done. Using that commander's reclaim gun in order to, or build gun in order to actually eat up some of the metal here. We do have to be careful. Yeah, don't want to step that commander too far forward. And some resbots marching forward as well. Going to be great for eating up a lot of those tanks metal. Definitely eating up their own values worth of metal, but keeping them alive would certainly be beneficial here. Gauntlet on the front line. My goodness. Zombie PL, the powder blue commander, going ahead and building one of those T1 area control plasma cannons. Hounds here blasting away at the commander. Ooh, Kidro in a little bit of trouble. Yeah. Those hounds don't mess around. They're more than happy to blast away a commander in just a couple of volleys. I believe it's about 6%, maybe 8% per shot. Something like that. And then with the speed that they can fire, it's definitely dangerous. Well, here we go. This is something we don't see very often, but it's the frontline gauntlet. Let's get a little clippy of that. Yeah. Look at that. It's beautiful. The frontline hero that everybody needed, the hero gauntlet, now blasting away at the hounds over here. What is the range difference like on those? The gauntlet pulling a range of 1220 versus the hounds with a range of 650. So actually vastly outranges the hounds here. Very inconvenient for Ramos, huh? The more you know. I'm always a little bit hesitant of seeing a gauntlet on the field. It always makes you a little bit nervous, but this definitely seems like one of, if not the very best use cases for it. Besieging a base right here when they're just barely making that T2 transition. Rocketeers en masse swarming the midsection right now, as well as a bunch of brutes, those heavy medium tanks. Heavy medium tanks, that's not right. Medium tanks. The Cortex medium tanks here with loads of HP and plenty of DACA as well, firing away now at a bunch of LLTs who are going to be more than helpless, or less than helpless, really, to try and defend against this kind of thing. Nicely done. Meanwhile, big medium tank ball available right here for the red commander as well, but we are getting into that T2 game. Sheldon don't look like they do much damage to medium tanks, but it is actually about 9% per shot, which is pretty insane. They really do quite a bit of damage to those medium tanks as they stroll forward here. And the gauntlet still getting value. Slowly but surely getting value. The green commander pushing far into the base over on the right-hand side. The front line has well been broken. No real response force available right here from the tan or the hot pink commander. Means that the brown commander is in a whole world of hurt. The resign vote is called right now as already the lab goes down right now, and as these thugs march forward, it's just a good old-fashioned T1 smackdown. Brown Commander in a little bit of trouble here. Medium tanks looking for an opportunity. They do catch some Centurion here. Bit of a weird engagement between Centurion and medium tanks. If the Centurion are spread out properly, if they're shaped properly, and if you have about the same amount of metal, they can technically outplay the thugs here. Or the brutes, pardon me, or the stouts, pardon me. Wrong unit name all over the place. Ah, but look at that. The red team demoralized by the push right here. The constant aggression. Maybe a little early on the tap, but certainly looking dire right there. And it'll, at the end of the day, be the blue team who manages to win it. Ah, killer bombing run was on its way, but we never got to see it. Darth winning the golden cow for doing everything, pushing through the northern section of the map, crumbling these front lines, smashing these commanders, and devastating those economies. Wonderfully played right there by the Green Commander, and GG to everybody else. If you do enjoy these daily casts of Beyond No Reason, I do urge you to subscribe to the Brightworks here. We're a rapidly growing community. It's pretty awesome to see. I'm always thankful for each and every single one of you. We also do live streams on Tuesdays and Saturdays, 12 to 4 PDT, in case you're interested in hanging out with me live. Other than that, though, I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day, and I will see you in the very next one. Peace out, everybody.